What's up? I'm back. This is gonna be a short segment. I'm gonna talk about the atom and how I think the atom is the first atom. When you think, when most people think atom, they think the first man, and we're descendants of that. But that story, whether we believe in it historically or it's just symbolism, goes back even further than that. The Egyptians had a god called Atum Re, Atum Ra, and in a sense, from him came Shu and Tefnut, the next gods, right? And in a sense, they created gods under them. And in a sense, you could look at that as like the first periodic table that existed, in a sense, when the Egyptians kind of knew that the smallest building block was the atom. But they knew it not just for being cocky and just saying they knew what the smallest building block of existence is, meaning that it's the smallest part that you can cut naturally. Meaning naturally, that you could naturally, like if you cutting up an apple and keep cutting it up, it's like the smallest part you could cut without cutting your finger off or something like that, right? And it's interesting because in a sense, what happens is that if you look at the atom, a lot of people try to get into metaphysics, and this is why the whole Adam and Eve story comes in because not so much if you look at it historically, but if you look at it for what it really is, the Adam and Eve story, you have to understand that to go into high level spirituality or complex spirituality. If you don't have that building block, you're not gonna really go far. That's what the Adam and Eve story is kind of told in different cultures, not just the Hebrew biblical one. The interesting thing is the atom itself is the same process. It's the atom, it's the atom that comes before the atom. So what that means is when you look at an atom, it has a nucleus and it has an electron, right? But most of it is what science calls empty space. Now, some metaphysicists have known that the atom is not really empty space as much as you think it is. It's actually filled with karma and it's filled with memory. And what that means is in a sense, the human body gets rid of 98% of its atoms yearly and gets new ones. But if you look at our circumstances, the circumstances don't change. We even get older. And in a way, sometimes the reason why is because our minds don't change, our actions don't change. And what happens is, even though we get a new body every year, it's almost like your car being messed up and or your computer being messed up and you are copying, like you know where the problem is and you keep copying that problem and expect the car to just automatically get better even though you're copying the problem that's plaguing your car or your computer. It's the same exact thing. Because a lot of people in the spiritual world don't really care about science, they don't understand that you got to really understand a basic level of science to really go far in the spiritual world. And in a sense, when you realize that, then you realize that atoms are the smallest part of they're the smallest part of us. They exist everywhere from the food, the stuff on your table, you know, fire, everywhere, right? Water, everywhere. And in a sense, it's kind of different. It's obviously related to cells, but a little bit different because cells are the smallest building block of life. So atoms are not technically considered alive by science. But what science doesn't realize is something doesn't have to be alive the way you perceive it to be intelligent, which is a whole different story. You have intelligence, you may not have life like a cell has life. Like it's in a way what it really is. It's kind of like your computer thinking for you, and your computer. I mean, it has intelligence in terms of it's based on mathematics. It can solve problems, and an atom is like a holographic computer, but on a much higher level. That's the real difference. So it has intelligence. It could solve problems. It could do things. It could attract opportunities to you. And when you don't really understand how they work, or understand the karma in it, meaning that when you do something over and over and over again, even when you create a new body, you're creating a mistake, and then you're replicating that, and it gets harder to actually convert it. Because if you make a copy of a machine, like let's say not a machine, a piece of paper, and you copy it, and you copy it again, you notice it gets lighter. It gets lighter so much that then you can't even see the original document that it was. It's kind of how it happens in our world. And I think because people don't understand an atom, is why they're having problems. Well, that's one of the reasons why. Because you can't talk about atom, ADAM, before you talk about atom, ATOM. And it's very important because, in a sense, a lot of times, you hear people talk about let's think positive. But the problem is, with just thinking positive by itself, you have to put the charge or the energy behind it. So when you say the karma is stored in the space of the atom, what you're basically saying is when you increase the charge, you increase the frequency of the atom, and then in a sense you could raise your energy level, which is very important Many of us don't do that because many of us don't even understand that it all starts with the smallest amongst us. That's why I'm going to do a video on atoms. I'm going to probably do a longer video on cells because it often starts there. And in a sense, when it starts there, you must take that back. And if you don't understand it, then it's almost like you're just not building with the right material. Is what's really happening. So the atom is very important to understand, at least a basic understanding of it. And once you understand that, then you move on to cells. You keep moving on. If you want, you go into the subatomic world. That's a different story. Um, that world that even Western science didn't even know existed until much more recently, actually. And the thing is, the reason why people don't really understand atoms or care about it is because normally you can't see them unless you have special equipment. But you don't understand that they're all around us. And in a sense, once you understand, it's about charging that empty space. You could think positive thoughts all you want, but you're thinking positive thoughts with like a space or energy that's not charged. So it's like energy vibrating here when it go here, which is the difference. And in a sense, once you understand that principle, things will go a lot better for you. And is it going to magically all of a sudden change? Of course not. But it's part of your education process of learning knowledge that you were supposed to learn when you were in kindergarten. Part of extending one's life is becoming a kid again. So even though you didn't like science in the past, it doesn't mean it can't serve you well now. So an atom, it's a very important piece to understand because it's the building piece of the puzzle that we all use, whether you're God, whether you're mortal, whether you're animal. Everybody uses it. They just may not know it. So I hope this helps. Until next time, peace.